Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Monday, August 9th, 2021. The main fire potential impacts for the next couple of days continue to include quite a bit of smoke in place over the Great Basin. That will stick with us through the work week here. We also have some wind over far western Wyoming and northeast Utah today. And then starting tomorrow, we'll see a return of some very isolated showers and thunderstorms to mainly the very southern tip of the Great Basin and also the Sierra front here. A closer look at the near surface smoke forecast for today and tomorrow shows smoke in place, particularly over northern and central Nevada and up into most of Utah. Idaho stays on the clearer side as that trough has exited to the area, and so the smoke is in place mostly for Nevada and Utah. Yesterday we had a few little lightning strikes up in the central Idaho mountains, but dry elsewhere. And for fire activity, initial attack was on the lighter side yesterday, with a few fires popping up there in central Idaho and then in Utah as well. Precipitation percent of average is shown here for the past 7 days on the left and the past 30 days on the right. Over the past week or so, we had quite a bit of precipitation up north in Idaho. In the past 30 days, also above normal precipitation for most of Idaho, Utah, and eastern Nevada. Still some pretty dry spots out there over far western Nevada and the central Idaho mountains. ERCs have been coming up over the past few days with the warm and dry air mass in place. We're seeing a return a lot to above between the 50th and 69th percentile stations across much of the area. And we'll continue to see fire danger increasing through this week as warm and dry conditions persist. A closer look at the ERC trends show over northwest Utah. Those values are on the rebound, still below normal for the time of year, but coming up. And then along the Sierra front, those values are much above normal for the time of year and are bumping up against the historical records once again. Wouldn't be surprised if they get there over the next couple of days with the forecasted temperatures and relative humidities. This morning's satellite imagery shows that low pressure trough that moved across the northern Rockies and northwest. This weekend it's exiting off to the north and east, keeping some clearer skies in place over Idaho, but also allowing that smoke to continue to move into Utah and Nevada. So for this afternoon, dry westerly flow is expected across much of the geographic area. No high risk. Closer look at the winds showing some slightly elevated winds over western Wyoming and northeast Utah this afternoon, but light elsewhere. And low relative humidities here in the single digits across areas of southern Nevada and southern Utah. A little bit higher over the central Idaho mountains. More of the same is expected for Tuesday as a ridge starts to build off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. So we're seeing generally westerly to northwesterly flow over the Great Basin. Warming and drying region-wide with no high risk again on Tuesday. Winds are generally light across the geographic area on Tuesday, but we will see some slightly elevated winds still over western Wyoming and northeast Utah, and possibly beginning to pick up along the Sierra front. On Tuesday, we will see some moisture returning to the very southern tip of the Great Basin, the Arizona Strip, for maybe some isolated thunderstorms down there. We'll begin to see some moisture moving up into far western Nevada as well. On Wednesday, the moisture will continue to be in place over the far southern tip of the Great Basin, and we'll see the moisture increasing over far western Nevada. We do have high risk in for the southern Sierra front here for some increasing isolated thunderstorms. The wind gusts pick up across the south, of course, with the thunderstorm activity here, but generally lighter winds elsewhere further north. And we can see that increasing thunderstorm activity by Wednesday afternoon along the Sierras, and some of that will drift into the Great Basin portion of California there. The 3-day precipitation totals highlighting that return of monsoonal moisture to the southwest, and we'll see a little bit of that into the far southern tip of the Great Basin, including the Arizona Strip, maybe far southwest Utah, and then also by Wednesday, some thunderstorms possible on in the Sierra southern Sierra front. On Thursday, we'll continue to see a little bit of moisture making its way northward in California and western Nevada. So we do have high risk for that continued threat for lightning there along the Sierra front. Generally dry elsewhere further north, and maybe some continuing thunderstorms again further south in the very southern tip of the Great Basin. Beginning Friday, we may see some of that moisture wrapping around into portions of Idaho for some increasing isolated thunderstorms, mainly over the higher elevations there. We'll be watching this forecast as it is a little bit far out, but could see an increase in thunderstorm activity up there further north. And then on Saturday, that ridge kind of expands a little bit further southward into Nevada, keeping temperatures very warm in the upper 90s across many of the valleys in the Great Basin, and we could see some moisture remaining in place for an increase in thunderstorm activity on Saturday as well. And then some of that will linger into Sunday as that high pressure ridge expands further eastward across the Great Basin. The precipitation accumulations for the next 7 days are shown here. We can see a little bit more precipitation expected over the southern Great Basin as some of that moisture remains in place. And then toward the end of the period, we'll see if we get any up into areas further north. The extended forecast for August 16th through the 22nd keeps temperatures on the warm side across the basin. Below normal precipitation is expected over Idaho, but we could see a return of some of that monsoonal moisture, mainly staying across the very southern tip of the Great Basin. This concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.